of
Lama test, right?
Lama test. Yes. Very good. So
All right.
Lama
Give
test
me 1 second. Hang on 1 second. All right, you're back.
All right, thank you. Good morning. We are in the bottom of Lama Tes Amud Aleph. That's actually today's daf, but we're going to try and get ahead a little bit for Yantif. So Amar Rav Chizda, bottom line, last 3 words in the line. Lama Tes Amud Aleph. Amar Rav Chizda, Mimaisa she'asu anshi Tveria, the asr lahu rabbanan, but la atmana b'davar hamoisif hevel. So we had in the Mishnah, there was a Maisa we brought in the most recent Mishnah, which we saw yesterday, I believe. Mishnah quoted a case of where they took the cold pipes, right? Or I guess, they ran, they said, so they took the pipes into the hot water Tveria to heat up the cold, and that's what they did in Tveria, and the Chum said, no more. So by the fact you're not allowed to go ahead and do and insulate, right, the cold water into the hot of Chamei Tveria. So he said from there, we see that the Rabbanan Aserd doing hatmana, doing insulating stuff that adds heat, because over there the Chamei Tveria add heat, and therefore you can't do Rabbanan that's considered like hatmana, but davar hamaisif hevel. All right, and even if you do it from the day before, in other words, not only even if you do it from Friday. And Amar Ula halacha anshe Tveria, but Ula argues said no, halacha is like anshe Tveria who did the pipe, and Amar Rav Nachman no kvar tavrinu anshe Tveria lisunanahu. No, the people of Tveria, they already removed their pipes, and therefore they disagree, and they hold that no, the Rabbanan were right by forbidding insulating the cold and the hot, and therefore you can't be hatmana but davar hamosif hevel. Fine, 2 dots. So 2 dots, top of Lama Tes, Amud Beis, 5 lines on the top. Ma'isa Shasa Anshe Tveria, that was the Ma'isa. So my Rechitza. What is the Rechitza? So we said in the Mishnah, we mentioned that if it was heated up, so we say, they heated up, and the Rabbanan said, if this is like a water that was heated up on Shabbos, even Shabbos Kecham and Shehuchmu b'Shabbos, it would be like water that was heated up on Shabbos, which is forbidden for rechitza and shtia. It is forbidden for washing and for drinking. Okay, so water is forbidden for washing, right? If it was heated on Shabbos, right? It was so it's Shabbos, and it was forbidden for washing and drinking. And if it was Yantif, then it's just forbidden for washing, but is permitted for eating. All right. Now the question is, what type of so that was the Maisa. That's the Mishnah statement. So my rechitza, what type of washing are we talking about? So ilema. By the way, just I want to get out there. We make sure that once again we don't paskin halacha from the Gemara. Obviously the poskim learn from the Gemara, but this shir, the purpose of the shir is not to bring halacha lamaisa. You have to ask your local or Orthodox rabbi. Obviously the last number of masechtas prior to brachos when kachim wasn't as nogei lamaisa, but as we'll see soon as we go through Shabbos, there's a lot of inyanim that are nogeya, especially this. This covers bathing. So my rechitza, what type of bathing are we talking about? Ilim rechitza is called gufo. If we're talking about any water to go ahead and take a bath, and then only that's forbidden from erev Shabbos. El chametz shehuchma b'Shabbos hu dasur, and chametz shehuchma erev Shabbos mitarim. Are you going to tell me that any water that was heated up from before Shabbos, that's what the Mishnah says is asur? But if the water, if it was heated up on Shabbos, that's asur. But if it was heated up from before Shabbos, then it's mutar. V'atani v'lener braysa chametz shehuchma erev Shabbos. If you had water that was heated up on erev Shabbos on Friday, lamachar the next day. Reichetz bahen panav yada v'raglav. You can go ahead and wash your hands, your face, and your feet. About lo kol gufa, but you can't wash your entire body. So ela panav yada v'raglav. So rather you can only wash your face, hands, and feet. Same as Seifa. Let's look at the Seifa. The Seifa says, or our Mishnah, v'yantav kechamim shehuchma v'yantav. So if it was on Yantif, it'll be like hot water that was heated up on Yantif. Asur merechitza u'mutar b'shtia. It'll be asur to wash and mutar b'shtia. Right, so lema tanan. So in other words, so what is it telling over here? So it's any water on Yantif that is aser, right, for rechitza, So Lema Tanan Stam Beis Shammai. But whose opinion is this? This actually only is the opinion of Beis Shammai. Why? The Tanai we learn in the mission of Beis Shammai. Right? A person should not go ahead and heat up water on Yantif, but only if it's fit for drinking. So what do you see over here? That water that was heated up on Yantif, right, would be Aser according to Beis Shammai. And like we just said, right, our Mishnah was assuming that water that was that heated up on Yantif, right, is Aser, which goes like only Beis Shammai, like not like Beis Hillel, because Beis Hillel is matir, even because it's Yantif. He says it's all types of cooking, even if the cooking of water, whether it's purposes of drinking or the purposes of bathing, right, will be mutter. So Rav Ika Bar Chananya. So lishtatev behen kol gufoy askina. No, we're not talking about bathing, right? We're talking about rinsing, or as we commonly know it, right? Showering, right? We talk about a case of showering, and therefore to shower the water on them, that's the case we're talking about. That's the case of Mishka. High Tanahu, and it's like according to this Tana, the Tana, so lishtatev adam kol gufoy. A person should not go ahead and shower himself. Whether it's hot or cold, that has been Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon Matir, and Rabbi Shimon says it's mutter, right? And Rabbi Yehuda Omer b'chamin aser, but mutter. Rabbi Yehuda says no, you go ahead and Rabbi Yehuda says by hot water it's aser, but cold it's mutter. So we see over here our Mishnah, which implies that hot water heated on Shabbos, right, is forbidden, right? But if it was before Shabbos, is mutter, right? That will be according to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon here, who maters water that was ahead and basically cooked, or that was heated up before Shabbos. So therefore, that which you're doing in the Mishnah would be only according to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. And Amar Rav Chizda says, Rav Chizda, machlekes bekli. Machlekes is only kli. Aval bekarka, right? The machlokes is to go ahead to have the shower only in a kli. Aval bekarka, but if one was using water that was in the ground, divrei hakol mutter. Everyone would agree that would be mutter. So Gemara says, what do you mean everyone would be mutter? That ma'aseh anshi tveria was dealing with water that was heated up in the ground. The asur the Rabbanan, and Rabbanan says, cut it out. They said no more, right? They said no more, heating up your cold water with the chamit tveria, with the hot springs of tveria. So rather the opposite. Rather, if you're going to say it, say like this: machlokes bekarka. The machlokes is whether you're allowed to go ahead and use the water that was heated up in the ground about the kli. But if the water was heated up in a kli, then divrei hakol aser. But then everyone would agree that to even take any sort of bathing or any sort of showering, divrei hakol would be aser. And Amar Rabbi Rechana Amar Rabbi Yochanan halach Rabbi Yehuda. The halach is like Rabbi Yehuda, who stated, right, that hot water is aser, but cold is mutter, right? So in Amar Le Rabbi Yosef, he said over here that any water that was heated up prior to Shabbos, right, is so that to use that on Shabbos, right? So hot would be aser, but cold be mutter. So he said beferish shmilacha or mechol shmilacha, right? Did you hear them say this beferish the halachas like Rabbi Yehuda, or are you just inferring it? So what is he inferring? What rule, right? What is he talking about? Rabbi Tamchon, Rabbi Yechanan, Amar Rabbi Yanai, Amar Rav, Kol Makom She'ata Maitzi Shnaim Chalukim, the Echad Machriya Halacha Kedivrei Mechriya. Anytime you have machlokas between two, and there's a third opinion that comes along and basically decides between the two, right? In our case, we had Rabbi Meir says Aser, Rabbi Shimon says Mutter, and comes in Rabbi Yehuda afterwards and says, no, hot is Aser, but cold is Mutter. So we always go like the third one who's the Machriya. So chutz mekuli matlanios, except for the cases we saw a couple blot ago, right? We were discussing the rags in terms of, even though they're too small, but if there's a use for it, are they makabel tuma or not? Because is it considered to be a shame beggar or not? She'af apisha Rabbi Eliezer machmev, Rabbi Shua mekel. Even though the first two machlokes was Rabbi Eliezer was mach and Rabbi Shua was mekel, Rabbi Kiva machriya, and then Rabbi Kiva came along and it was machriya, and basically sided with was in the middle. Ein halacha k'divrei mechriya, right? The halacha, right? The halacha was not like the divrei mechriya over there, right? So that was the only exception. So the question is, right? Why do they not go like the mechriya over there? So chada Rabbi Kiva, the Talmud, who Tami Havi. So first of all, right, that Rabbi Kiva was a Talmud, right? And therefore, since Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Eliezer were arguing, so since the Machriya was Rabbi Kiva, so therefore the Machriya can't necessarily be the halacha like him because he was the Talmud. And furthermore, right, Hadabe Rabbi Kiva Lagabi, the Rabbi Yeshua, right? So, and also we see that Rabbi Kiva was chayzer in that case. Rabbi Kiva was chayzer, so even though he was the machriya temporarily, but later on he was machriya to Rabbi Yeshua. So therefore, that's the reason why the halacha wasn't like him there. But the question is the halacha in our case like the machriya, like Rabbi Yehuda? In other words, are you just assuming that based upon that rule, or did you actually hear him state the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda? And so, okay, even if you go from the rule, if you just say, okay, the halacha must be like Rabbi Yehuda because of the rule that we go like the machriya. So, what's the big deal? So the Gemara says, no, it is a big deal. Why? So, mahani mil b'masnisim. Maybe over there it's only by a Mishnah where you have three opinions, where you have a machlekes and a machriya. But if in a brisa, then you would have. This is a case of a brisa. So maybe over here, if you assume that the rule applied in the brisa, which is not true, so then maybe the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda. So he says, okay, I just want to hear you out, but Lamaisa, I did hear him say beferish, and the halacha would be like Rabbi Yehuda in a case of water that was heated up prior to Shabbos, that one would be allowed to go ahead and shower with cold, but forbidden with hot. Right? Or no, anything heated up from before will be usher, but if it was cold water, then we mutter. See tomorrow. Chamin shehuchlam be'erev Shabbos. So any water, right, that was heated up erev Shabbos from Friday afternoon. Rav Omar Lamachar reichet bahen kol gufa aver. Rav says the next day you can go ahead and wash your body limb by limb. Ushmol Omar lo yitiru lirchotz ela panav yadav v'raglav. No, we only are permitted you to go ahead and wash with a warm water, wash your face, hands, and feet. So meisvei asukashe. So chamin shehuchmu erev Shabbos. If you have hot water that was heated up from erev Shabbos, lamachar reichet bahen panav yadav v'raglav avaloi kol gufo. You can go ahead and wash your hands, feet, and face, but not your body. So tiyufta de Rav. So it sounds like a kasha and Rav. There's a favorite sheet tonight, right? Rav said you can wash even your limbs, right? Rav said, right, you can wash your whole body. And Shmuel said you only wash your hands and feet. So this it's a kasha and Rav, right? So Rav said, lo kol gufa v'asachas. I didn't mean that. This doesn't mean that you can't. No, this agrees with me. It doesn't mean that you can't wash your body at all. So like me, it says you wash your entire body, but you can't wash it v'asachas ella aver. Rather, you wash it limb by limb. So it says over there his face, his hands, his feet, right? Which says over there, and it sounds like dafka his face, hands, and feet, and nothing else. So he says, no, kain panav yadav v'raglav. No, just like you wash your face and your hands and your feet, one, by themselves, so too you wash the rest of your body limb by limb, and therefore Rav says this doesn't contradict me. It's not a kasha. So the Gemara tries again. So Tashma, come and listen. It says beferish. Right? It says a person's not permitted to go ahead and wash with hot water that was heated up from before Shabbos, but only his face, his hands, and his feet. So my answer is hachinami ke'ein panav yadav v'raglav. And so the Gemara says, okay, so to over here, I will give the same teres. He says, no, it's just like you wash your hands, your feet, and your face, that limb by limb, so to the rest of your body, you can wash limb by limb. And Tani Kavasi, the Shmuel, we have a Bryson sweater of Shmuel. Shabbos, if you have hot water that was heated up on Friday, Lamachar, on Shabbos, Reichetz Ben Panav Yadav Raglav, Avaloi Kol Gufa. It says over there, you can wash your hands, your feet, and your face, but not your entire body. Avaloi Kol Gufa, Ever. You can't wash your body limb by limb. And certainly, right, you don't need to tell me that any water that was heated up on Yantav itself, you can't go ahead and wash your entire body, even limb by limb. So this brisa clearly holds like Shmuel that any sort of limb by limb washing is not permitted. So Rabba Masni lo lahashmaitza the Rav so that would have been a kasha. And Rabba Masni lo lahashmaitza. And Rabba also he learned this that which Rav said was different. B'hailish different lashon, slightly different. In Chamen shehuchma be'erev Shabbos, any hot water or any water that was heated up on Friday. Lamachar the next day Lamachar Amarav the next day Rav says about it. Reichetz behem kol gufo. Umashayir Aver Echad. He says over there, you can wash your entire body, sounds like even all together, except for one limb. And I was just wash everything but one limb.
Why can't you wash limb by limb?
I'm sorry?
Why can't you wash your body limb by limb?
So the svara would be limb by limb. don't want to take the words. The svara would be that the reason why you can't shower is because a person might come to go ahead and it's a gzera, right? So if you use stuff from before Shabbos, right, then you can't wash on Shabbos, even if you didn't heat up anything. The reason is you might come to go ahead and heat up. So in other words, they went ahead and they banned typical bathing. But if you go ahead and you wash limb by limb, which is not your typical form of bathing, so maybe then the gzera doesn't apply. So there's a leniency when it comes to the fact of basically washing limb by limb, that it's not identical to to washing your entire body at once, and then perhaps then it would be permitted. All right. So Gemara says, so according to this, so Rav's shita was not that you can wash limb by limb, but according to the second lishna was that you can wash the entire body altogether except for one limb. And then so Esvei Kolhani Tiyufta. So then they asked these three. We just asked three kashas from the three different brisas, and two of them were pushed out. The last one remained the kasha, and all three of these would be a kasha on Rav's the second version, the Ikad Amri of his shita. They call Hani Tiyufta and Tiyufta. Those, and indeed, it's a kasha and Rav that he appears to be contradicted by all the brisas, and the halacha seems, or I guess the Gemara seems to go like Shmuel, that who holds that you can only, with water that was heated up from before Shabbos, you can only wash your hand, feet, and face, and not your entire body. So I'm related, Rav Yosef Labaye. So Rabba Miko Ovid Kishmaitze de Rav. So Rabba, who was a student of Rav, did he do like Rav or not? Right now, did he wash Kol Gufa or Ever Vever? So I'm related, Lo Yadenu. So he said, I don't know. So Gemara says, "Mighty boiler." I understand your question. Pshita lo ever. I understand it's obvious he didn't do it because we shlugged him up, right? We asked the kashas from the prices, and the halacha in it would not be like him. So he said, no, lo shmile. Maybe he didn't hear it. So he lo shmile. Vadi avi. You understand? If he didn't hear it, of course he acted like his rebbe. Of course he acted like Rav. Damar Abai, that Abai said, "Call me ledemar avid karav." That Rabba always did like Rav, except for bar mahani tlas. Except for three cases, David and Shmuel, that he went like Shmuel. Which cases were Matilim beged, he would remove and take tzitzis from one garment and put it on another. Words, and he would also light from one candle to another candle on Chanukah. And you also hold by Greira that one would go ahead and let's say drag something heavy in a yard or something, even though it might go ahead and create some sort of furrow, right? It's not an issue of digging on Shabbos. So no, it's only those three cases, but all the other times you hold like Rav. So of course you hold like Rav in this case, right? So what's the question? It's like, well, our answer, no. No, but maybe it's only Chumras. Chumras of Rav he held on to, except over here, this is the cool of Rav. Rav is permitting, right, washing the entire body, limb by limb, right, and Shmuel doesn't. So maybe that which he said he goes that Abai reported that Rav always did like Rav. It was only when it came to Chumras and not Kulas. So Tana Rabbana. Merchatz. So now New case. Tan Rabbanu were in the middle of Mem Amar Aleph, almost a little bit lower than smack in the middle. So Tan Rabbanu, Merchatz Shapiku Nikavav, the Erev Shabbos. Now they went ahead and they heated up the water in Erev Shabbos and they plugged it up, right? They plugged it up. Lemoti Shabbos Reichetz Bo Miyad. They're right after Shabbos. In other words, they plugged up on Shabbos and then it remained hot, right? And then, so right after Shabbos, they're allowed to go ahead and use that hot water that was heated up in Erev Shabbos. In other words, from the water that was basically heated up on Friday, they can go Saturday night, they can use that hot water. Erev Yantif. Okay, so let's say they heated up on Erev Yantif. So they heated up the hot water on Erev Yantif. Then they plugged it up. The next day you can go in there and you can do a shvitz. You can do a shvitz on Yantif, right? Not Shabbos, this is Yantif. The Yaitse and leave umishtativ beisachitzon. You leave from there and then go ahead and basically shower in the outer halls or rinse off with cold water in the outer halls, not in the merchas, right? That people will say that because if he does on the inside, people will think that he's assuming that he is bathing there. But they allowed, so they don't allow bathing inside the bathhouse, but they allow schwitzing inside the bathhouse, but then go ahead and rinse off outside. And Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda Maisa b'merchatz shel Bnei Brak shapiku nekava me'erev Yantif. Once was a Maisa in Bnei Brak that they went ahead and they plugged up the holes on Erev Yantif. Lamach the next day Nichnas Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Rabbi Kiva. The next day Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Kiva the Heziu bo, and they went ahead and they schwitzed the Yatsu and they left. They rinsed off with the cold water and the beis hachitzon. So ella shechamin shaloi mechabim benasar. But the hot water there, not only did they do it, the hot water there was covered with boards. So it was obvious they weren't there to go ahead and bathe, and there was no issue of them bathing or people thinking they're bathing because the hot tubs were covered up with water. When the Chachamim heard about this, they said, even though that that was a chumrah, you didn't have to go ahead and cover the boards because we do allow permitting schwitzing to go ahead and take a schwitz when it comes to water that was heated up on Erev Yontif. And however, once the Ivrei Aveira increased, once the violators, the transgressors, right, they increased, people did Aveiras, they went ahead and forbid the bathhouses of the large cities. However, but you're allowed to go ahead and walk through it. In other words, you can walk through the bathhouses to get a schwitz, but they can't go ahead and use it as a bathhouse, only basically to walk through and not like a small little schwitz, but rather walk through. We'll soon see why. So my oivrei averos, I mean, they were oivrei averos. Damar b'shim b'pazi, damar b'shim b'levi, b'shim bar kapara. B'tchilo hayiroichtzeh b'chamin shehuch ma'erev Shabbos. In the beginning, they used to go ahead and bathe in hot water that was heated up on Friday. However, however, the bathhouse attendants used to go ahead and they would heat up the water on Shabbos itself to make it nice and hot, right? They wanted to have the schwitz with the hottest water, so people would come to them, right? And they would say, Erev Shabbos huchmo. They said, we heat up on Erev Shabbos. So also it's a chametz, so therefore they made a decree. Okay, now bathhouses you can't go ahead. They answered hot water. But they say, you know what? You can do a schwitz, but you can't do bathe in hot water. But they would go in and say, okay, we're going to the bathhouse to only take a schwitz and not to bathe. And then they used to go there and they would bathe. And they say they would lie and they'd say, oh, we schwitz. So therefore they said, okay, you can't go in the bathhouse not to wash and not to bathe and not to schwitz. They tiru chamit tver, but they said you want hot waters on Shabbos, go to chamit tver. You go to the springs, the hot springs of Tver.
Yeah. Is going to the sauna and taking a shower the same thing?
They're not, right? The water is a bigger gzeira of going ahead and heating up for a purpose of washing. Zeya, the steaming is only from the bathing, which is from, it's almost like a gzera to a gzera, is the zeya. That's why they permitted zeya in certain situations. But this is, right now, the Gemara is giving the story as to how we got to the point of forbidding zeya. Because originally, we were allowed to shower, but they saw they're heating up water on Shabbos. So they said, okay, no more showers, no more hot bathing, only schwitz. But then you see, even on schwitzing, they would still go to bathe. So they said, okay, you can't even go there to schwitz anymore. You can only go to the springs, the hot springs of Tveria. But then they would lie. They would say they would use, right, they would find the water heated up by fire and not by the springs. And they'd say, they come back with their hair all wet. They said, oh, where were you? Hot springs? They said, oh, yeah, we're in the hot, we were at Chamit Tverium, but it turns out they weren't there. They were heating up their own water. Right? And after the Chamit Tverium, also Chamit Tverium, then they said, you know what, no more Chamit Tverium. You guys know how to ruin a good thing, and it's all forbidden. And they say, you want to be able to do something, you can use only cold water. However, they saw that the people weren't standing by, they weren't able to survive. So but they said that no, you guys can go back and use these springs, the hot springs, and however, the zeya, the schwitz would still be forbidden. Omar Rava. Bottom line, Haiman, the Ovid, the Avar Adrabanan, Shari Lemikre Le Avarnya. A person who violates the words of the Rabbanan, right? As we see from this case, they were called Oivre Aveira. You're allowed to call him Avarnya. You're allowed to call him a transgressor because he violated the words of the Chachamim, and therefore we see that the Brisa called him transgressor. So come on, and who is that? Like Yaitana, like what you just taught. And but the larger saunas or the schwitzes of cities, you can walk through them. And we're not concerned of a person heating up. In Amarava, Dafka, Bekrach, and Dafka of the large cities, but the small villages, low, then we can't. My time was reason. Kevan de Zutron Nafish Heveleo. Since they're right, because in the larger ones, you don't sweat as much. You walk through, it's not really a schwitz. But once you walk in the smaller ones, it's much smaller. smaller, then those would be smaller, and then there was water, and therefore it would be more of a shvitz. And Tan Rabbanan is chamim adam keneged hamadura v'yaitze mishtatef b'tzayin. A person can go ahead and sit next to like a bonfire as a heat, right? And you get real hot, and then you can leave and go ahead and wash off and shower off with cold. But you shouldn't do the opposite. You shouldn't go ahead and bathe in cold. Then afterward, go ahead and sit next to the fire because he's basically like warming up the water that's on his body. And a person allowed to go ahead and heat up a towel and put it on his stomach. Let's say his stomach is hurting him or something, so that put it on himself on Shabbos. However, you should not go ahead and bring a hot pitcher of water and put that on his stomach to warm himself up on Shabbos, because you're not allowed to use the hot kettle, the hot pot. And also this is, by the way, don't do it during the week also, because a person could spill the burning water and burn himself. And Taner Rabbanan, maybe Adam Kita in Mayim Nichel Keneged Madura, Lo Bishul Sheichimu El Bishul Shetifa Tzinasan. A person is allowed to go ahead and bring a pitcher of water and put it next to the fire, right, next to like a madura. A madura is like a bonfire, right? Not for it to go ahead and heat up and cook up, rather only for the purpose of to like remove the chill, remove it from being too cold. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Mevia Isha Pach Shel Shemen, Umenicha Keneged Madura. A woman is allowed to go ahead and bring a vessel, right, of oil and place that next to the bonfire, and Lo Bishul Shevishul, not to go ahead and cook it, El Bishul Sheyavasher, also to warm it up. All right, so now. First case was the Tanakama, speaking about water. Water, you can go ahead and remove the chill, place it next to a bonfire. That was the Tanakama, because we're soon going to explain. Now, Rabbi Yehuda was the one who said, same exact case, but he only said it by oil. He didn't say by water. We don't know what Tanakama holds by oil. We'll soon see. Rabbi Yehuda comes and says, oil, you can go ahead and heat it up. Warm it up, but you can't go ahead and leave it there and cook it there too long. Isha secha yada, you can't even move the oil next to it. What do you have to do? She should really secha yada shemen mechamta. She go ahead and put oil on her arm, and then go ahead and heat it up. Then put her arm by the medura, have that warm up. The secha lebanat cotton, right? The ena choshesh. Then she can go ahead and use it to where she wants to use it. Let's say she wants to use it for a child, so then do it on a child. In other words, basically do it klachar yad, right? Doing it with the shinui. So a question was asked regarding this brisa. So shemen mahu latanakam. What is the?
I think you weren't allowed to even put oil on your body on Shabbos.
So this is not I guess not to smear it in, right? Certain stuff you can't go ahead and smear in. But I guess if it's on top, then you're allowed to. We find often that they were doing it, right? They were doing it. It's not in violation.
Okay.
Right. So okay, right. Shemen mahu l'tanakama. What is the opinion of oil when it comes to Tanakama? So notice, because remember, the Tanakama only discussed water. He says water, you can go ahead and put it next to the bonfire to warm it up, just not to heat up. But he doesn't say anything about oil. So Rabbi Ravesi will say, no, oil is good even to go ahead and cook it next to the Madura. Rabbi Nachman Bar Yitzchak he says, no, you can't even do it at all. So let's see. Rabbi Ravesi, they both say that there. They both say it's mutter. Why shemen alpha pisha yad soledisbo? Even if you go ahead and heat it up to the point where yad soledisbo, right, where it's basically too hot, right? Basically, we'll soon see yad soledis what it means, but basically you touch it and it's hot to the touch. You have to move your hand away. Mutter. Then in such a case, it's mutter. Why is oil mutter to heat it up even to that point? Because saver tanakama shemen ain't bo b'mishul, right? Well, that which we say you can't go ahead and cook on Shabbos only pertains to cooking with water. It does not talk about cooking oil. You only cook water. You don't cook oil. And the also Rabbi Yehuda Lememra, then comes Rabbi Yehuda to argue with the Tanakhama, says, no, Shemin Yesh Bo Mishum Bishul. No, there is, by oil, there is Bishul. However, Avsher Lo Yizehu Bishulo. However, right, no, oil is shaykh to be cooking, but warming it up is not cooking, therefore you can go ahead and warm it up. The also Rabbi Shimon, then comes Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Lememra, then Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, no, Shemin Yesh Bo Mishum Bishul, Avsher Zehu Bishulo. No, you can go ahead and there is cooking by oil, and not only that, to warm it up next to fire is considered to be cooking it. So therefore, you have to go ahead and put it on your arm first, which is basically a shinui. And Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Omar L'Yisura, he says, no, the Tanakama would have asked oil. Why? Shemen aser, that all types of cooking of oil are aser. Not only when you cook it to the yatzaledisbo, but even if you cook it to the warm, that's still called cooking when it comes to oil. So therefore, it's completely forbidden. That's why the Tanakama didn't discuss, oil. He only discussed water, which sometimes is forbidden just to warm it, just not to cook it. Shemen yesh b'mishum, and then Ksavi yesh b'mishum bishul v'hafshir zavishulu v'aser Rabbi Yehuda. And it comes Rabbi Yehuda lameir no hafshir is low. Zeu v'shula. He says no. I do agree with you that oil you can cook. However, warming up is not considered cooking. The Yasser Rishon Gamliel lameir. And Rishon Gamliel says no. Shemen yesh b'mishum bishul v'hafshir is zavishula. And when it comes to Rishon Gamliel, it says no. There is cooking by it, and therefore warming it is considered to be cooking. So Gemara says if that's the case, according to the second opinion, the second way of learning it, Rav Shimon Gamliel, Hainu Tanakama. Rav Shimon Gamliel and Tanakama really both say the same thing. What is that? Rav Shimon Gamliel said that oil you can cook, just warming it up, right, is also considered to be cooking. Comes Rav Shimon Gamliel says oil you can cook and warming up is cooking. That's why you have to put it on the arm. So l'chara they hold the same thing. So ikabanayu klach hariyad. No, the difference is klach hariyad. According to Rav Shimon Gamliel, you're allowed to do klach hariyad. Another woman should go ahead and put it on her arm first and heat it up then, and then put it on the child. But the Tanakama doesn't give that advice. It must be the Tanakama holds that Klei Achariyad would also be Aser. And Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel Echad Shemen V'Echad Mayim Yad Soledes Bo Aser In Yad Yad Soledes Bo Mutter. So it says whether it's oil or it's water, then Yad Soledes Bo is forbidden. But if it's not Yad Soledes Bo, then it's Mutter. V'Hechi Dami Yad Soledes Bo. And what is the temperature of Yad Soledes Bo? So Amar Rachla. I guess if you go ahead and I will not try this at home to see, to see if it's hot enough or not. But I guess any contact, if it comes on the stomach of a baby and it burns it, that is considered to be yad soledes bo. So if it burns a baby's stomach, then it's considered to be yad soledes bo. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi Pam Achas Nichnasti Achal Rabbi LeBeis HaMerchatz. One time I followed Rabbi into the Beis HaMerchatz Bikashi Leneach Lo Pak Shel Shemen, and I want to go ahead and cook up a little thing of oil inside the bathhouse. V'Amer Li, and he told me the klisheni the thing. He says you want to go ahead and cook it in there, put it in a klisheni, take some of the water out, right, and put it in another kli, and then go ahead and stick the oil in. All right. So Shema Mina, as we learn from here. So Shramina Tulas. We learned from here three things, right? Actually, a couple more things. So Shramina Yesh Bo Mishum Shramina Shemen Yesh Bo Mishum Bishul. First of all, we learned that by oil there is cooking, and ours cooking is shaykh by oil, because he says, right, he was concerned, don't put it straight into the bath. The Shramina Kli Sheni Einim Mavashal. We also learned from here that what a Kli Sheni does not cook. In other words, he told him to put in a Kli Sheni, right? I mean, a Kli Rishon is something. A vessel that was heated up, right, on the actual fire. So therefore, there's a lot of heat. And therefore, when you transfer it to a klisheni, right, it loses some of its potency. It loses some of its ability to go ahead and cook. So therefore, he says, don't put in the kli rishon in the water vessel that was heated up. Rather, transfer it to a second container, and that one you can cook. So you see that klisheni does not consider cooking. That's why I told him, go ahead and transfer it to the second. We also learned that also warming it up is also its cooking, because it wouldn't get the yad soledes bo in the bati. Nevertheless, just warming it up is considered, a bishul. But however, doing a klisheni would be okay. So now Gemara says, wait, how could he tell him to put in a klisheni? In every place you can go ahead and you can think about divrei Torah. You speak Divrei Torah, except for in a bathhouse, in a Beis HaKisei. They're in a bathhouse. And if you're going to say, oh, maybe he told them in a different language. He told them in English, right? He told them in whatever language they spoke, right? Amar le, I Amar Abaye, Dvarim shel chol mutar leim b'lashon hakodesh, shel kodesh asur leim b'lashon hachol. Right? The things that are chol, it's mutar is over there. You can talk lashon hakodesh in the bathhouse. But if it's Lashon HaKodesh, you can't even interpret that into Lashon Chol. So over here, if you're telling about halacha, you wouldn't be able to say it. So Gemara says, no, it's different. Afrushe misura shani. No, in other words, if you're basically going to go ahead and prevent an aveira, you're telling him, no, don't put it in there, put it in a klisheni, right? That would be permitted. So prevent an aveira, that would be permitted to go ahead and say in a Beis HaMerchatz or a Beis HaKisei. And Teda, you should know, Dam Rav Yehuda, Dam Rav Shmuel, Ma'aseh b'Talmid Hashem Rav Meir shenichnas achar al Beis HaMerchatz. One time there was a Ma'aseh with the students of Rav Meir followed him into the Beis HaMerchatz. Ubikesh la'adiach karka, they want to go ahead and sweep the floor. So Amar Loi, Ein madichin. He told him, he said it in the bathhouse, you're not allowed to go ahead and sweep. So l'such b'karka, okay, we'll go ahead and put oil, whatever it is, a cleanser on the floor. Amar Loi, Ein sachin, you can't go ahead and do that either. Alma, what do you see? If Rishim Yisura Shani, we see over there, you're allowed to go ahead and talk words of Torah if it's going to go ahead and vent when it's already done. So over here, he's able to tell him put in a klisheni because that was la frushim Yisura Shani. It was different because it was preventing an isser. And Amar Ravina says Ravina Shmamina also we can learn from another thing. Hamavasha b'chamit tveria b'Shabbos chayiv. One who goes ahead and cooks in the chamit tveria is chayiv. All right. The Chamit Tver, why was this in the Chamit Tver, but it wasn't the Chamit Tver? Okay, let's see. So the Hab, right, the Hab Maisa, the Rebbe, Achar Gzera Habi. Because this Maisa of Rebbe was after the Gzera, Vamalei, Toba Klisheni. And he told him, right, use a Klisheni. In other words, we see, he was concerned that even though, right, that this came after Chamit Tver, it was still, what's it called? It was still Usser. So we see over there that to go ahead and cook Chamit Tver would also be Usser. Right? Vamalei told Klisheni B'tein. Any is this true? Right? One who goes ahead and cooks and uses the hot springs at Tveria on Shabbos is Potter. Samai Chayiv, right? So Nami the Kamar Makas Mardis. So now it's not Chayiv Achadis. Rather Makas Mardis, it's Malkas Derban, and that would be Aser. And Amar Rab Zera says Rab Zera Ana Chazisa Rabbi Avo the Shabe Ambati. One time I saw Revo, he was swimming in Ambati, he was swimming in a bath. Right? It was a large bath or a jacuzzi or something in his yard. And I didn't know whether he was swimming in there or whether he was just standing in there. So Gemara says, Pshita Delakar, it must be obvious that he was just standing in there and he wasn't swimming. Why? The time of the a person should not go ahead and swim, right, in a pool of water, full of water, even if it's his own yard. Right, so how could you say he was swimming if you see the char? That's awesome. So Gemara says no, like kash. It's not a contradiction. Maybe to have the happening that perhaps he did it. Why? So the less like gedude, these like gedude. Right. If there is a rim around it, then that's like in a kli. In a kli, there's no problem. That which the aser is really is to swim. Go ahead and swim in the ocean. So if it didn't have any borders, any sort of rim around it, then maybe that would be considered similar to the ocean, and maybe that was a question. And did he swim or not? So that wasn't the question because that would be similar to an ocean or a lake. But if it had rim and it had stuff around it, then maybe that was a question of was he swimming or was he not swimming. All right, we'll stop here. And this is actually so we just finished. I think Mem was tomorrow's daf. Today is Tuesday. That was Wednesday's daf. So Thursday's daf, which is still Yantav, is Mem Aleph, and then we'll try and catch up somewhat Friday, and then Sunday obviously we'll do the double shear, and then we'll figure out from there. So shkoyach everybody. Have a wonderful day.